pull up a chair if you wish to sit at the table. Hello and welcome to Let's Bring It to the Table, where we discuss ways to improve our lives by addressing issues that directly affect us. Today, everybody, we got a special treat. Y'all see that lady up there? That pretty lady? That's my sister cousin. That is the owner of Mimi Decor. Now, anyone who's following her TikTok and YouTube will understand that she can take your trash and make it into treasure. Hey, Mimi.
Hey, sister.
How you doing?
I'm doing, girl. I'm
That is
doing great.
great. I'm glad. I'm glad you're doing great. You know what? I got a topic for today.
Come on with it. I'm ready.
You with it and you ready?
I'm
So our
ready.
topic today, everybody, is the blaming game. Who is really at fault? So with me saying that, do we really understand this paradigm that we live in of how we blame? You know, blame is defined as assigning responsibility for a fault or wrong. We blame others for a number of events, or because we late, someone made you feel guilty, they pressure you to make a decision, or you got mad and exploded in rage on somebody, or blaming others leading to unhelpful emotions such as resentment, anger, hatred. We blame others for other behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings that are negative, and yet to meet anyone who blame people for the good things. Have you noticed that? We have I have yet to meet anyone who blame people for the good things that happen in their lives. What about you, Sharon?
You know what? It has been hard to, because we sometimes don't want to acknowledge. We want to think that we did a lot of things ourselves, and but we'll sure blame them. We figure out how to blame you for the bad, but don't want to acknowledge the good. So I get it. I see. I feel it. I have been working on that. I've been working on me. So,
Exactly,
yes.
exactly. But you know, sometimes blame can be, it can be something harsh. That's the reason why when you blame other people, it's like you escaping guilt. You know, I usually say that because I know in my ex marriage that everything was always my fault. It was nothing. It was like I could never do anything right, no matter what I did, no matter what business I tried to open up. It was always my fault that I was doing things that that he apparently didn't understand. And you know, and I realized that it's very tacky of that. And but it very easy for him to blame me because I was taking away time he didn't want me spent in improving me. Do we Aren't we supposed to hold ourselves accountable for the consequences of our behavior, thoughts, and feelings?
We should always hold ourselves accountable, but the hardest thing for people to see is themselves. Because it's almost like if you go ahead and acknowledge that you're not, you know, when you blame people or everything's your fault, it's almost like you're not where you really want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to hold them to where you think they should be limited. They should limit themselves. They shouldn't try to be above you. So you blame and you throw the darts. You hurt. You minimize their efforts. You do a lot of things to try to bring them down. People do that. And I now know. I didn't know what it was called back when it was happening to me years ago, where I was always the blame for everything. This person was never holding themselves accountable. But I realize now it's that narcissist personality that you're going to always be at fault. Everything is always going to be your fault. Everything is always going to be, you're the bad person, I'm the good person, I'm the person that is injured here. And like when you were trying to start your own business, now you're taking away time from the family, trying to throw a guilt trip on you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to improve yourself. Or you're call yourself trying to apply for a better job. Well, you're really not qualified for that. You need to, and that's going to take away more time from the family. And all of a sudden it becomes about the family when that person is not even bringing anything to the table or doing anything for the family themselves. but they
Mm-hmm.
make you feel guilty about taking away some additional time from the family. So yeah, I think you should always, hold yourself accountable. And I think it's a self reflection on yourself that everyone has to do, because I myself realized that there have been times that I've been guilty of doing the same thing, and and I realize now that it's because I was unhappy. I was unhappy with me. So yeah, I blamed the other person and did not look at what I did to cause these things. So yeah.
Okay. And right now, y'all do what. Oh, I hit the wrong one. Ain't that something? But anyway, follow, like, and share. Let's bring it to the table. Or if you're on my personal page, follow, like, and share. Or go to the Let's Bring It to the Table. Go to Sonya Perspective. And if you're looking on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sharing is caring. you know, um, to say all of that, when life get tough, our minds quickly shift from the focus, and we don't even realize that, we start pointing fingers. And they always say that when you point one finger, you got several pointing back at you. And to be completely honest, if we're completely honest with ourselves, I believe most of us will understand that being guilty of this, especially in personal relationships or even at work, it's so much easier to blame. I thought about that when you have a solution to something, why are we blaming? Why, if you know what the solution, why are we got to knick-knack on that? It's like you got to just be just literally just mean to people when you're trying to, you know, instead of just saying, okay, we made a mistake, this is the solution. But it's like you never, that accountability we were just talking about, you never. So with that, with the accountability spectrum, why is it so hard in this culture today for people to hold themselves accountable? Women blaming men blaming women, the men saying it's the women's fault. No, let me take that back. Rewind. Black men are saying it's the black woman's fault, in regards of how the relationship go, and no one's holding accountability for that. Instead of saying, well, let me look at me, instead of always looking at her. Why is she acting that way? Let's see what is making her respond that way, and vice versa. But it's like I said, always pointing the finger. So how do we prevent that and grow up?
Like I said, it's self-examination, self-reflection. When we start reflecting on ourselves, and because you know the one thing that I was noticing with me was toxicity, I guess is how you would say it, but toxic relationships, having those over and over and over again. Well, the one thing that you can say is that the people that I was in these relationships with, they changed. The one constant was me. So what's causing all the toxic relationships is that I pick toxic people, or am I toxic? And I'm bringing something on. So it was a self-reflection to realize how I was handling things. And I think I handled things from hurt for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of, how I was hurt in that first relationship. So I decided that I was going to protect my heart at
Mm-hmm.
all costs. So whenever an argument started, yeah, it was, your fault. It's your fault. It can't be mine because I'm the good person. I've been hurt. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
one that's just protecting my heart. Or in friendships, time it was me that walked away, because before I could get hurt, I'm walking away. And
That
I
part.
always had an excuse as to why I walked away from them. But honestly, the person was a really good person, or the people were good people, but it was me. And when I had to stop and look back on this and start looking at this, say, hey, what did I do? What was so bad about them? But I have to say that, and I don't want to, I'm one of these one, I don't ever want to get too spiritual and all of that. And it was God. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a part of it, because I had to start relying on my relationship with God so that I could figure out who I was. But I also had to reflect on, who Mimi was, who Sharon was, and how she's handling situations. And I stopped pointing the finger and start trying to figure out, the solution to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it has made me better, not only in my relationships, but even in the business world,
Mm-hmm.
in my professional life. I stopped blaming the company for holding me back, because the only person that can hold me back is me,
Mm-hmm.
because I can still apply. I can still, apply for other companies and step out and on faith and all that. But I'm just gonna sit somewhere and just be mad because they won't promote me, or mad because they won't help me get to this next level, mad because somebody didn't do this, and I'm just gonna be, and they're the reason why I can't move forward. No, that's not gonna happen anymore. That I refuse to let that be my life story. Is that it was somebody else? No, I take charge of that. I take ownership. And now self reflection has brought me to a point where I feel like I'm literally unstoppable. Anything and everything that I can do, people that I want to be friends with, I can have those a healthy relationships. And that's one thing we have to work on, healthy relationship, because I do know that even though we're trying not to blame other people, if you start seeing it being toxic or unhealthy for you, you know the difference.
Yeah.
It's time to get out. Any relationship, friendship, relationship wise, business wise, professional wise, if I can't leave out of that better than what I went into it, it wasn't good for me.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be something that promoted me, promoted something within me, something for me. There had to be some type of promotion in this. In my friendships, we grew in friendship. We started trusting each other. We were able to trust each other enough to go and to be business partners or whatever. It's something had to come from that, not just have some friendship that you just ended up, it diminished, and you know nothing.
Right. But that's a path that a lot of people usually take, is just walking away and not saying anything, and they don't even understand that's part of the trauma. And when you hit it on the money, when you really look at yourself and you allow God to show you truly what your part is in something, then you're able to accept. You can't blame God. You can't blame the devil. Look at you. All you're doing is, when you say the devil did it, you giving him glory.
Girl.
You giving him glory. So why are you doing that when you need to look at you? God gave you free will to go either left or right. You choose. You choose. It's up to
Yeah.
you. And my thing was, Sharon, everything you said, you hit on spot, because that's the way I was doing. And then I stopped doing it, and then I did something worse. Even though he used to blame me, I took it upon myself to take all the blame. If you said it was my fault for something, I took it and I would give it to God, because my thing was, you weak. You want to blame me, then you're weak. So I'm strong enough for the both of us, and I'm just gonna give it to God, because you know not what you're doing. And you, especially when you don't want to accept accountability. And you find it even at work. You have people that do that, and they want to blame you. For something that was their responsibility. I can't blame you. And even with my new job and stuff, and when they put me on these two new, they gave me two, not one branch, I got two now. And so it's a heavy burden, but I don't think they thought I could do it. But once I started holding people accountable and doing it in a way that they understood, oh, okay, so in order to help her, I got to do my part. She's not blaming me, she's telling me I need you to do your part. It's a solution. And you can take that and use that in relationships. You don't have to be enraged, emotional, and argue and fight. Some people like that, because after the fight you get to make up. That's too toxic for me. you know I think that it's a better way.
Exactly.
you know
Well, and I would say that in my last company that I was working for, I was I felt myself starting to play that blame game again. blaming my manager for holding me back, blaming him for not, helping me when I was trying to close business. And I was upset and I was angry. I was stressed out. Anxiety started to set in. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I realized I'm actually the one to blame because I'm accepting this. I'm accepting this. Sometimes when things have gotten so uncomfortable and you're just at a point where, that was just like a relationship, it had become toxic. It
Mm-hmm.
was time to move on. But because I was so comfortable and complacent of where I was, the hard thing for me to do is to accept that I shouldn't be there anyway and I should be moving on. It's easier to just say, oh, you know what? He's the one that's making me, sit here and I just got to stay here to retirement. I'm going to just be miserable. It was me that had to accept the responsibility and say, you know what? I can't blame him for my unhappiness because I have other options.
Yep.
I have options to start my own business. I have options to go to a competitor company. I have options here. And why not exercise these options? Now, it's going to be scary, it's uncomfortable to change, but that's a part of life and that's a part of growing. But even in all of that, I learned so much from that. Why not take that somewhere else and make it my own, or either go to another company and show what I can do? And just go bigger and better. And when the opportunity presented itself, I didn't even hesitate. And people were telling me that I was crazy. Why would you leave, a company like that? Why would you leave it? Just like I left, it was toxic to me. And I was tired of blaming that toxic environment for my health. And I started blaming it that, oh, I can't sleep at night and I'm gaining weight and I'm doing this and no, I wasn't gaining weight because that comes gaining weight because I was eating too much. You start making up stuff, that
Mm-hmm.
it's their fault, it's that company's fault. They making me, stressing me out to the point. No, it's not stressing me out. I'm not even stressed out now and I'm still eating chocolate. So,
Just
so that,
because you love it, you love it.
yeah, that's it. That was a flat out. We make excuses for what we want to make excuses for. And we should take accountability and make changes in our life and make positive changes. And when I made that change and went to the other company, the one thing that I have realized since I got here is that same problems, different company. Same
But you handle
issue,
it better.
but I handle it better because I decided to stop. I'm not going, you know what? I made this choice.
Mm-hmm.
And because I could say that other company, the only reason I'm here and I'm having all these problems, they made me leave because I was so unhappy. No, I chose to leave. I accept that. And guess what? I'm going to make the best of it because, again, just like I left that one, I can leave this one too.
Mm-hmm. And it
Just
don't
like
even matter. And age ain't got nothing to do with it.
age don't
Longevity
matter.
in a business ain't got nothing to do with it. It's about what makes Sharon happy.
Yes, it does. And again, with this position, I even, I shared that with my vice president. He said, well, how many years do you think you're going to give me? He said, because you shared that you were looking for retirement. I said, I'm going to give you as many years. I'm going to give you as many good years as you are good to me.
That's true.
That's it. Because when this becomes a relationship that's not good for either one of us, it's going to be time for me to leave. And the
Mm-hmm.
blessed thing is that I can leave and retire. But I'm gonna give you as many good years as you give me good years. So if we good to each other, we're gonna stay together for a while.
That
But
part.
but let it get bad. I'm not blaming you for coming over there and taking me from my other company. I ain't blaming nobody because it's all about my free will. It's about my choice, and
That part.
I'm gonna make the best of it.
That part. So let's twist this a little bit. And you said it though a few minutes back. We blame more than we think. That's what came to mind for me. We blame more than we think. This is a problem when it comes to blaming. We don't notice how often we do it. Do you notice? Have you noticed that on certain things? Like you could be getting ready to leave and you holding a conversation with somebody on the phone and you forget what time you gotta go. You know, People don't get it, but they do. It's because they're not even keeping track of that. That it becomes a problem. This behavior, unfortunately, it leads to a spiral down the negative pool. You know, but you think about that, it's not healthy. You got to be accountable for the behavior still again, but we blame more than we think.
We do. And like you said, let's say you and I are on the phone and I just told you that I need to be somewhere at 6:30 and at 6:15 we still on the phone talking. Then I'm like, I catch myself and I get up, then I get to the event and say, well, Sonya made me late. She kept me on the phone.
Hmm.
That's blaming without even thinking because it's so much. You know what it is? I think it's easier to blame somebody than to acknowledge that you were in error.
Say it one more again for the ones in the back.
Yeah, it's so easy to blame than to acknowledge that you were in error or you have done something wrong because really we do want to see ourselves almost as perfect people. We don't do nothing wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we're always the victim.
Or people see you as perfect people and think you don't do no wrong, but
Yeah,
the life of Mimi Decor is not easy. The
no,
life of Sonya is not easy, but they don't get to see that part.
they don't get to see the part of where I see people comment on the videos and say, oh, your house is lovely and this was beautiful. You didn't see the 3 or 4 takes where I dropped the thing and broke it and got into an argument with my husband because I weighed stuff all over the floor and he said I shouldn't have been in that area of the house doing the thing anyway. And people see, and I know people see me and my husband together and they're like, oh my God, y'all such a great couple and everything. You don't see how mad I stay at him most of the time and how he gets on my last nerve, but I still love him. But
Right.
people don't see all of this. But the thing is that we both had to come to this agreement to agree to disagree on a lot of things because we realize something when we start blaming, because I'm upset and I'm mad and I'm sitting on the couch and he not speaking and I'm not speaking. When we try to even get to the bottom of it, it was because you said, it was because, no, it was because you did this. No, it was because we could go on all week with what the person said, and eventually it goes back. It started with how that argument got started. Then it goes back to last week when you did something that made me mad. Because even last week when you did this, now we back a year ago. And it's amazing how we can remember stuff. And
Keep them
each
receipts,
time,
girl. Keep them
girl, each
receipts.
year. And when we go all the way back to when we first met. I should have had, it should have been a red flag when you did this when I first met you,
That part.
and
Hmm.
we start, like you said, it'll go down this rabbit hole. And so what we have really tried to do is stay in the now. Stay in the now. It's like, okay, we were angry, but right now, how do we resolve this? What will it take to get us past this? uh yeah, you waste all that stuff in the middle of the floor. What can I do to help you so that you can work up in your office and not bring this stuff back down in the middle of the floor?
Hmm.
And so we have to work on a solution, and those are things that we have to internally work on solutions when we want to stop playing the blame game, not on others but work.
Communicate.
Yeah, communicate and work on yourself. The most important thing is to work on yourself.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
true. That
Yeah.
is so true. Y'all see that Q code right there? Let's create something magical. That's Liz Galore Brands. As y'all know, a couple of series back, I had this Texas loaded potato. When I tell you it's fat girl giving, and they laugh at me when I say that, but y'all don't understand. This girl is a chemist with what she do. hit the Q code, go buy you some marinades, and just see how magical it can be for you. She is a whole vibe. So I'm gonna leave that right there just for a second. And Sharon, um, what tips do you have as far as when you do self reflection instead of you blaming, when you know that, like when you said you made the spill? I know sometimes I know you'll get it up before he get there, but how do you correct that into where it's not I'm gonna blame you, but like you said, help you? How did you get to that point?
Girl, when I tell you, that's where I become over spiritual because I had to pray on it.
You said over spiritual.
Over spiritual, over religious, over girl, over the top. Getting in the room and crying and begging God to make some changes in my life, begging Him, Lord, help me. Lord, you know what? At certain points, I have to get real with God. Just, let's just throw God, me, I know you, God, you done seen me naked. I
Mhm.
mean, and when I say naked, you've seen me at my worst. You've seen me when I was completely down and out, and you're still there with me. Lord, fix this. I can't do it. I don't know what to do because this is beyond me. Fix it. Fix me. And because at first, when you start praying, you want to be fix him. Make him understand, Lord. God, well, no, no, fix it. Because apparently something wrong with both of us. And at a certain point, also with me and my husband, we had to both realize we both crazy. That's how we ended up together. It's something wrong with both of us. There is
But it makes
somebody
it
has to
perfect.
be, yeah, we somebody has to be mental to deal with either one of us. And God put two mental people together, and that's what happened. And we're together, and and it works.
Hmm. I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Um,
So
when you blame, when you externalize, it's like you're projecting the anxieties and anger on other people. But to me, which is an issue for me because I internalize everything. I'm holding on to my feelings. I'm not expressing them. I try a little bit more, but that's what therapy for. Because I feel like for me that some of the people that I'm around, they can't handle that, the emotional of my feelings of how I don't think they want to. Let me take that back. I don't think they want to. So, when your feelings and your attributes of who you are holy, there's no difference. Then it's almost no different than blaming other people when you internalize things. Um, there are different methods of dealing with things, so you don't become dysfunctional or become toxic, but I think therapy is the best answer because sometimes people either they don't want to deal with your feelings or they just don't care. They claim to do, but they don't.
they don't. A lot of people don't.
Mm,
Some people actually do, but most don't. And I heard one lady on a YouTube channel. She was talking about until you deal with it yourself, you don't even really realize it's a real thing until you acknowledge it yourself. Because people can talk to you till you blue and no, they you could talk to people till they blue in the face and explain to them that I'm just trying to express this, I'm trying to get this out, and they're like, you know what, that's crazy, but then when something traumatic or something happens to them and they engage with somebody who's just like they are, and they're trying to express and get this information out, and the person is not hearing them or not understanding this or not seeing them, they feel so unheard. All of a sudden it's a different story. It
mm-hmm.
really exists. This really exists. This is a real thing. And uh now they start pulling back, and like you say, internalizing. I internalized for years, and when you internalize too much, like I said, you said it right when it says it's going to take you down a rabbit hole. One day it will take you down a rabbit hole because it's going to overflow one day.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to overflow. You're going to finally hit a point where it just has to come out, and it may not be good. And I think a lot of this, where you see these people going out and doing these crazy things, they've internalized the hurt, the pain, even overprivileged.
Hmm.
They've even internalized that, being overprivileged, and all of a sudden
Exactly.
something happens that
Traumatically.
traumatic, that I can't get what I'm always normally used to getting. And all of a sudden you get people shooting, you're getting people running and blowing stuff up. And it's something, because they've internalized this stuff for so long, they never had a chance to, maybe do counseling or talk to somebody, or have somebody that saw them or heard them the way. And people are so embarrassed to go to counseling, and thinking that it's not something that we do. That's not something, I strongly recommend people going to counseling, and, getting some feelings out, just having a listening ear that uh, has been educated in doing this.
Hmm.
Because I can hear you all day talk about, but honey, I hadn't been educated other than by the world of what to tell you, or by my own experiences. But if I haven't experienced what you've experienced, I really can't tell you much. I can give you my advice.
And
Just like,
that's another thing that kind of irked me sometimes. When people, me and you, we know our journey. We don't look like what we've been through. Let's put that on out there. We don't look like what we've been through. People would never understand that a lot of things that some people go through, and we know, we actually know. But it really bothers me at the fact, even with these young kids, that they're killing each other, or they're killing themselves because someone told them get over it.
yeah,
How you can get over somebody abusing you, beating on you, pushing on you, pulling on you? I've seen videos where boys cutting girls' hairs, or girls cutting girls' hair, or walking up to a girl and bashing her head in the desk, and you telling them to get over it. This is
bullying, all of this bullying, yeah. And and then, in those things, I do understand blaming, because there is a blame that needs to be placed on people that are doing that to other people. Yeah, it's okay to blame them, but we also have to figure out, how are we playing into this? Because if we're allowing it to happen, and we're acting out of fear and not saying anything, we play a part in that. We have to say something. And that's what I always tell my grandkids: say something.
mm-hmm,
Can't nobody, and my parents would always tell me, because they were, back when I was younger, you didn't hear a whole lot about people messing with children and all that. But my mother worked in the school system, she was a teacher, and my dad being a truck driver, they heard about different things. So my dad would say, don't let anybody tell you that they gonna kill me, they gonna do this to me. Don't let them threaten you by doing something to you. And they say that some tell us, and so that's what I really preach to my grandkids. I don't care who they say they gonna kill or whatever. No, they not. They ain't finna do nothing to none of us. And
mm-hmm,
you tell us, because something gonna happen to them,
mm-hmm.
but no, ain't nothing gonna happen to us. So we, that's where we help children, you know, because we want to. And then we also blame, like when a child commits suicide or somebody, the family is looking for closure and answers. And yeah, it's easy to blame that it was somebody that bullied them, but at some point that child had to be showing some kind of signs that they were not seen, they were not heard. We have to take the ownership in this, that we have to make sure that we're seeing and hearing people, getting them the help they need, getting them out of these situations. I work with women um, that suffer from domestic abuse or
Mm-hmm.
sex trafficking. And that's why, and that's what, when we see the shutting down, something going on.
Yeah.
And it's very important. And not to say, it's because that pimp is doing this. No, yeah, he's the blame for some of it, but she's also um
She has some accountability
internalizing. She
sense.
has some accountability to tell somebody that I need help, or show no, if nobody somebody's not hearing you, make them hear you, make them see you. I don't care how many, if you got to go to 30 different people, somebody need to see me and hear me that I need help. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it, go to another person that and make sure that somebody's seen. So we have to take some accountability in each and every action. And I know sometimes we're so scared. And the one thing that an officer told me years ago about, it was back years when they were doing like this white van was going around
Right.
and picking up children. He told us, he said, don't get in. And the people were like, well, what if they threaten to kill us? He said, more than likely they're going to kill you anywhere. Make them kill you right there. At least we can find you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm just being as honest with the children as I can be. Don't get in. You need to. Did it go out? Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
still.
Okay. Yeah, I said, he said, that's where you just stay where you are. You know, they're gonna probably do something to you more than likely. But if you get in that van, the chances of us finding you
It's
becomes harder, and finding you alive probably becomes impossible.
right.
He said, take your chances right where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Fight, make noise, scream, be heard. Don't
Yeah.
be silent.
Yeah. And and that's sad sometimes that even with when you respect adults, and I'm just saying this to any of the kids that's watching, when you respect adults and they try to shut down your voice, speak up. That might not be the right person you need to be speaking up to. I've never, when it was things that would go on with me when I was in school and stuff, I never expected the teachers to do anything. I always went and found my daddy or my brother, or my mom, because I didn't have any trust in the school system back then. You know, I trusted my parents. I trusted my big brother because those who protected me. And sometimes you can't trust where you at. You have to go to an outside source. And it doesn't matter, how long it take you to get there. Do like she says, speak. Find somebody till somebody answer.
Yeah.
Because accountability is accountability. And sometimes brainwashing is a detrimental to anyone who's done that way. And I feel sorry for them because it's a hard battle to try to allow yourself to accept your part in when you walked into that car, or if you drank the drink that wasn't you, that you left on the counter and somebody slipped something in it. You still hold some kind of accountability. It's hurtful to say, but in every action you have a choice, you have a responsibility. And she's absolutely right in that. There's no way around it. If you're in a domestic situation, if he show you one time, you better accept it for what it is and do what you need to do.
Get
You know,
out. Get out. Ladies, if you are in any type of situation, I know this is outside of what we're talking about, but
it still
get
goes
out.
inside with it.
Yeah, yeah, get out.
Men
Try to
too.
get out.
Men
Yeah,
too.
yeah, men too. Yeah,
Mhm.
men too, because there are some men that are being physically and emotionally abused, mostly emotionally abused, and
Financially
it,
and spiritually.
spiritually abused, and get out of these toxic relationships. Own that, you made a mistake.
Hmm.
Own it. There was a mistake in the person that I, we, I will never forget when I was crying to this pastor about the fact that my marriage was breaking up the first time. And I was explaining to her, I was like, can I confide in you? And I'm telling her all of this. And she said, well, I'm not married, and I can't really tell you about marriage. She said, but why are you staying? If it's this bad, why would you stay? I said, because people in my family don't get divorces. You're not supposed to get, and the Bible says you're not supposed to get a divorce. It says that what God has put together, she said, stop right there.
Because God didn't put it together.
Yeah, she said, stop right there. She said, The Bible says what God has put together. She said, how did you all get together? Because I don't think God would put something like that together. I said, well, I got pregnant and my parents and his parents thought it was best if we got married. She said, so you allowed your action
Mm-hmm.
of doing something outside of what God would have you to do. You decided you was gonna fix it, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, for God, since what God puts to do it. And she said, so you decided you was gonna fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had to sit there and think about that, and I was like, well, I was trying to do the right thing. She said, no, you was trying to fix and right your wrong. See, I should have just owned it, owned the mistake, have accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I put myself and then eventually four children through something that I made a decision to get into, trying to fix and trying to hide the shame of being an unwed mother.
Mm-hmm.
So
That in our
now
family.
they're living with, they're living with some traumas. Now
Yeah.
they're living with some traumas of a toxic marriage, that they had to be in this household with two people who absolutely hated each other. And so when we own it, and that's why when my daughters had children outside of, no, you don't have to get married.
That part.
I understand that I would prefer that you did, but I want it to be the right way. You
Yeah.
This was, even though it was a mistake in the action, it's not a mistake of the child coming here. The child was supposed to be here. And 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 own the mistake of what you did, and own that responsibility, and we're going to love that little miracle that came out of all of that.
Exactly. Because God do
And
bless in mess.
oh, don't he though?
He
He'll
do.
bless you in some mess. Yes.
He
I
do.
I have a whole bunch of little blessings that came through some mess. A bunch of them.
And you know what? Some people don't understand, if you don't accept responsibility for the instead of blaming, you got consequences coming. You got consequences coming. And it's not easy, and and sometimes when you blame it others, it'll backfire on you, and you'll leave you wishing that you didn't play this. We leave you wishing that you didn't blunder yourself into something that could have been changed from the beginning. But yet you decide to blame. Consequences. Karma don't play.
They sure don't. And when it come back on you, mm, mm, mm.
You better ask somebody. Call.
been there, got been there, got a whole wardrobe, not just a t-shirt, got a
Okay.
whole wardrobe.
Exactly. Exactly. And some people, I hope that on today that people got it. I hope that they understand that, you know, that they get it. But before we go further into that, y'all, I got to do my endorsement. Y'all see that cue code right there? Shop with KTB Enterprise Unlimited because their luxury is justified. When I tell you,
Wow.
y'all, that this is the Black Macy's, we call Macy's. You better get in
Mhm.
where you fit in. They have any cologne that you want, any perfume you want, they can get it. Like I said, I ordered on a Sunday to get my old originals that I usually wear that's tried and true, like my Issey Miyake and my Periolis 360. I got the call that my order was here. Who does that? When I talked to him Sunday, he didn't even have it, but I got my stuff special delivered.
Oh
Y'all
wow.
them. They have MAC lipsticks. She has Too Faced, the eyeshadows. I could keep going on and on and on about the different things they have. And Mother's Day is coming up. Why don't you scan the Q
Honey,
code and do just that?
I just did.
So y'all don't sleep on them. They are endorsed by Exquisite Taste. So their customer service is exceptional. Everything about them is 5 tier stars all the way. They do hold the purple label. Anything you want, I might as well take Ti song. You can have whatever you like, because they can get it.
Ah,
They can get it. So I'm telling you, get on that Q code and check them out. If you don't see it on the website, just DM them, reach them. They're on Facebook, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram. Just reach out to them and ask them. And I think their phone number is out there too. So just ask them, and I promise you, I'm not lying to you. They worked it. They worked it, and they beat Macy's prices. Let me say that
oh
again.
wow.
They beat Macy's prices. So,
Wow.
because their luxury is justified,
That's awesome.
very, very much so. I love that company. I love them. That husband and wife team, they doing their doggone thing. So, y'all, we've talked about who's at fault. Really and actually and truly, the one who's blamed is the one at fault. But let's avoid these habits of blaming. Let's stop reinforcing this unhealthy thinking pattern. You know, figure out how you can make the right choice of just listening instead of complaining, analyzing instead of crying about it. Figure out how you can change this, because this does affect you emotionally, mentally, and physically. I'm being very serious. This affects you. And now, when you do that, then I need you to change how you view mistakes. Sharon even talked about that. Instead of viewing your errors of your ways as failures, because there's no such thing as a failure. Failure is when you stop, or when you can't fail. You gotta. Sometimes you got, as some people say, you gotta fail in order to know how to fix it. So
You
don't
do.
blame people for those failures. Try to see an opportunity for your self-improvement. Acknowledge your responsibilities in this. The mistake gains greater control of your life. If you have a mistake, it can gain greater control of your life. So take the mistake, analyze it, do the self-improvement so you can have control over your life. Like we were saying, therapy. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Go see a therapist. People blaming often have a fragile sense of self-worth. You are worth more than a pot of gold. You are worth, everything, because you have life. It was given to you. Your capacity for the errors shouldn't degrade you, or avoiding holding yourself accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable in all of this. You have to see the actions to understand that your mental health is very, very important. So take responsibility. If you need to talk to someone, maybe, if even if you can't afford, there are some free therapists. Go to your EAP in your job. If you don't have that, then seek somebody, your counselor from church. I know a lot of churches have people who are life coaches that will talk to you. And there are other ways and avenues. Or if you have someone that are really truly listening and not try to give their opinion, then go to them if you trust them. Because I'm a very big advocate of safe space. When you have a safe space, you're able to be who you truly are. And safe spaces is very, very important to me. I know they're very important to you too, Sharon,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to have them. And Sharon, tell everybody a little bit more about you, since we're ending near the show. So I usually give our guests a little time to do just that. Tell them what you do.
Well, my nickname is Mimi, and it was given to me by my grandchildren, which I have 14 of them. And I just really say that this is a blessing because, that seven being that magical number, and I have it double. So 14 grandbabies, and I do restoration of furniture, also DIYs. I take anything and make it something. That is my passion. Sometimes we don't realize what our parents are actually putting into us. My dad used to buy houses years ago before flipping was not even popular. He was flipping houses back in the 80s. And he didn't have anybody but me. I was an only child, so he would take me with him and have me making cabinets, holding the saw, holding the wood while he sawed, and uh, making different, things. So I realized at a certain point in my life is that when I got into a point where I didn't have the money to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do, I realized that I could make them. And that's where this passion came. And I didn't call it living bougie on a budget back when I had my children. It was called survival. We
Right.
needed a table, and a table cost $200, but this one from the flea market was $30. So we're gonna figure out how to make it work. So I knew how to sand it down and repaint it. Or this somebody gave us a furniture with the three legs, and the couch with the three legs, and we figured out that you can go get some wood from at that time Central Hardware, and just change all four of the legs out and make them look the same. Or put everything on blocks and put cover across the couch. And so using that concept now, I realized that it was a business back then. I just didn't know it. And this is why it's so important to educate our children and show them our knowledge. Because if I knew back then what I know now, I
Girl,
would be, woo, I would be a millionaire. Of course, I
send
would
me
be a
back
millionaire.
to 25. Send me back to 21. And I'm going to show you some.
If I go back to 16 while daddy was still here showing me how I would have learned how to build more things. And so my dad did leave with me a love for tools. And even though I was the girly girl, I did know how to use a drill or saw, and I knew how to fix plumbing and install ceiling fans. So I've now made this my new journey,
Mm,
because um, even though I've kind of followed in his footsteps and working for transportation professionally, I know that my end life, my life after retirement is going to really be surrounded with building and making. And I plan to open Mimi Decor, and I pray that some of these beautiful women or men are able to come to the actual location. And it's in Cordova. And I don't even want to get an address because I don't want anybody coming over there right now because we're still working on it. But I want to have like decor and sips, not paint and sips, but we're going to have decor and sips. And we're also going to incorporate the fact that my son owns the business behind my business, which is a detailing shop. So while you're getting your car detailed, you have the opportunity to come in and actually either shop for refurbished or items that we've redone in the store, or you could actually sit down and go through a class and learn how to make something of your own. So that's the concept of Mimi Decor. That's a little bit about me. I've been married for 19 years to the most amazing man in the world, because he puts up with me, and he's my biggest cheerleader most of the time. And I'm blessed, but I'm also this is where the spiritual comes in. I'm also an evangelist, so my whole thing is to always try to live my life according to what God says. And but that free will of mine runs rampant sometimes. So I do know that God forgives and God loves and God has a sense of humor because
that part.
he made me.
I think
So
he has a real sense of humor when it comes to me, because I'd be like, look, now I know you up there laughing. I know
yeah.
you up there laughing right now.
And I'm gonna tell you something. While we sitting up blaming and all of the stuff that we've talked about,
Hmm.
and how it's so hard to deal with somebody, just imagine if you were God and had to deal with you.
Ooh. Remember
Just
how we used to
imagine.
talk about how Jesus, remember when we used to talk about Jesus going to the cross, talking about, God, you for real? You for real? You want me for these folks? These
For,
folks?
did you just see what she just
Are
did?
you serious?
Did you just hear her? And and
Okay.
and and even in all of that, don't you realize that the God we serve, the Jesus that's our big brother that we serve, he'll do it all over again for our ignorant, decrepit, ignorant, silly, lying, uh,
Trifling.
trifling, blaming,
Uh-huh.
not taking accountability, narcissistic self. He'll go and do it all over again because he
All
loves
over
us.
again.
It
Mhm.
wouldn't, and wouldn't have any problem with it.
None at all. None at all. Because that's just the way he rolls, though. You know.
That's the way he rolls.
But we just gotta learn how to roll right. We gotta get some of this stuff straightened out and getting it together. Because if we don't, then guess what? And when your time to take your last breath, and I keep saying this because it echoes to me every time I think about it. Don't be the one who, when you taking your last breath, asking God for more time. Use your time wisely. There's no one to blame but yourself. You know, use your time wisely. Live life to the fullest. What else is you got to do? Work and go home. Work and go home. It's more to life than that. He put you
Yes.
here for a reason. Be the beautiful person you are. Because
And
I wouldn't do
I
it.
would share with anybody that's out there, if you have a gift or a talent that you're just sitting on, I challenge you to just step out on faith and use it, because you will never know until you do it. And I promise you, the saying that if you live and do your passion, you'll never have a job a day in your life. I truly live my passion. You know that my life is transportation. I absolutely love what I do. I don't even feel like I have a job when it comes to my professional and my personal life. I don't think I have jobs. I just live my life because I actually do my passion. And doing your passion is doing you.
It sure is. It really is. Love it. And y'all
Well,
can find her on TikTok. Just
yeah,
go to
I'm
TikTok and
spending
on YouTube.
weekends with Mimi. Spending weekends with Mimi. And the weekends is with the Zeeps. And also on TikTok and Instagram, spending weekends with Mimi. And it's a DIY channel surrounding mostly my creations, but usually on some weekends, some grandbaby is going to be with me, and they're going to hop into the video and they'll be doing something. So I pray that everyone, that watched this or saw this was blessed by something I said. And
Mm.
I, pray that you come and spend a weekend with Mimi at some point, either on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. And
Exactly.
thank you. And thank you, Sonya, my sister cousin, for inviting me. I was blessed. I was honored to
Mm.
be here and have a conversation with you. This was so wonderful. And it was enlightening because the one thing about it, when we minister or when we talk or when we counsel, we get something out of it ourselves. So
That's true.
blessings to you, my sister.
And blessings to you. And like I said, don't forget to go out there with her. And then don't forget to follow, like, and share. Let's bring it to the table. Or follow me on my personal page, Sonya L. Logan. I'm on TikTok. I am on everywhere on Facebook. I'm on Instagram and I'm on YouTube. So get in where you fit in, because we going places. Both of us, everybody that I know, we going places. And don't forget that Financially Free series. It will be now coming on twice a month, and I'm hoping to have some good deeds for y'all coming soon. And next week, don't forget, like I said, we are still working on vision boards. So accountability time, people. So I'm going to put an invite out. If you have your vision boards, bring them. If you don't, still come on. And so we're going to talk about the intentions, on how to set those intentions and gain your solution, because the solution is where we're trying to get to. And not just financially, we're talking about personal too. It could be, I know people that's doing it because they want to work out. I know people who's doing it because they dealing with mental issues, or they're dealing with things that they're trying to overcome because of fear. It's a lot of ways of having this vision board, but to set the intention and you gain your solution. And I'm telling y'all, if you don't have the workbook, let me know, and I will send you a PDF version of it so you can print it out and you can get to work. Because writing it down and make it plain, make it gospel for you. So go ahead and do that. If you need it, let me know. DM me, whatever you got to do. I'm here. I'm telling you. Patronella said, "Great job, Mimi."
Thank
And our Lord said, "Awesome job, sisters."
oh,
Thank y'all for watching. And
thank
just
you
like I
all.
said, next week, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. Um, if you want to come on, let me know. I would love for some people to show their vision board. Sharon, I would love for you to come back just to show them the mirror vision board so they can see your update of what you change in your vision, if you changed anything or what has come to pass for you.
Oh, girl, mine actually came to pass. The
I know.
financial, all of it. I, you know, I still I put when I tell you this is crazy, but I actually took it off the wall and sat it by the door so that my feet, when our feet go past the mirror, you can see my feet. I walk in my faith, my family, and my finance. My
That's right.
I walk in my anointing, so I see my feet in the mirror each and every
Mhm.
time I walk. So I'll be more than happy to show and share that and show you where it's placed in my house that I have to walk past it every day. And so there is not a day that I don't see, I don't walk in my anointing
And y'all
and
hear
walk
that?
in
Because
that
that's the
vision.
affirmation that she has come to pass with. She walking in it.
I'm walking in everything that I put on that vision board has come to pass, every last thing. So
Hmm.
I am blessed, and I always say blessed, and I'm highly favored.
Hmm.
I'm God's favorite. My nickname is Davita. So I am. I'm a woman after God's own heart. So
That part
that
right there. So I will see y'all next week. Again, that this will be a Let's Bring It to the Table, Exquisite Taste collab, because this is what happens when you're trying to help people get to their greatness. And so we'll see y'all next week. And as I always tell y'all, and I can't walk away without telling you, so when respect is no longer being served, love yourself enough to leave the table. Okay? You got to. You don't have any other choice. If you love yourself to leave the table when respect is no longer being served, that means that you love you. It has nothing to do with the people. You gotta love you, because if you don't love you, how you gonna love anybody else? And I will see you all next week, and I bid you all good night.
good night.